Hey everybody, it is Mom of Two, Wife of One, and if you're here, welcome to my channel. Please make sure you hit the notification bell, make sure you like and subscribe and comment. I love to talk to you guys about anything and everything, but especially about Married at First Sight. Last night we had episode 2 of season 13. And one thing I don't appreciate that I already see the show doing is that they're stretching out the show more than they need to. Last season we had about 16, 17 episodes, and they seemed to stretch and go on and on and on forever to the point where everyone was just waiting for the season to be over because we were so frustrated with people, and it just took forever for it to end. And so normally what happens, the first episode, the singles, they tell their parents they're getting married, and then they buy their wedding dresses and buy their tuxes, and then we see at least 2 out of the 5 weddings the first night, and then the next night we see the remaining 3, and then we see them all at the reception and being happy and all that stuff. Last week they had a 3-hour episode and we only saw 1 wedding, and then last night we only saw 2 weddings, which means we have another episode next week where the final 2 couples will get married. So I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know how much I appreciate it, but we'll get into all that at a later date. Today, we're going to discuss the 2 weddings that happened last night between Mirla and Gil and between Michaela and Zach. So I want to first start with Mirla and Gil. They are the couple last week that I said I don't really see them making it. Mirla is high maintenance. Pastor Cal actually said, Mirla is somewhat of a diva. She likes her things. She likes being able to shop whenever she wants. She's worked really hard for her money, so she believes in spending it. That's not a bad thing to think. I don't want to sit here and make it seem like, oh, you should never spend your money. You do work hard for your money. You have every right to spend it. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is something wrong with you place too high of a value on things. And I don't know if she does or not. I shouldn't judge her prematurely. But one of the other issues with her is that she's, likes her life. She's very stubborn. She was like, I just want someone that I can do these things with. I shouldn't have to change my life, and I don't plan to change my life. This is the big thing that so many of the brides, especially, the husbands, not so much, which is very interesting, but the brides had this issue, a lot of them, is that they come into this process hoping to have a husband to add to their equation of what they already do. I'm tired of doing this by myself. I'm tired of going here by myself. I want a husband to come with me to do all these fun things. But instead of wanting to have someone that you can add to your existing life, the thought should be, let me find someone I can build a life with. That doesn't mean that all the things that you did previously you can never do again, but it also doesn't mean that once you get married, he's going to want to do all that stuff with you. It's a matter of figuring out balance, right? So having these things that you do with your husband, while also at times doing these things by yourself or doing these things with your girls. So having the balance of that old life while being excited about creating this new life and this new dynamic with this new person. And she also does, told the exposition she did not want a bald man. Gil is very much bald. But one thing I thought was, I don't want to say nice, but I guess had me see her in somewhat of a different light, because so far they're just painting her as this person who just likes to spend a bunch of money. She also is very big on family, and she very much wants to build a family of her own and build traditions of her own, which is something she says that she hasn't had before. While Gil, who's a firefighter, is all about, again, it's kind of the same thing. I want to build a family. I want someone to come home to, tired of coming home to an empty house. I want to, someone to build this home with. Very lofty goals, nothing wrong with that. So when they got married, the whole buildup of she doesn't like bald men and he's really bald was like, oh my gosh, she's not going to like him. It's going to turn into this and this and this. She saw him, she knows the bald head, but then she saw that he had really kind eyes and he was very handsome, so she was fine with that. Now, she already said from the beginning she was not going to go in for the kiss at the altar. He's not going to kiss me. I'm not going to kiss him. I will give him my cheek. He's a stranger. I don't know him. While Gil was like, well, I'm going in for the kiss. Like, that's my wife. I know it's a stranger, but that's my wife. Like, whatever. So they got she turned her cheek. He kissed her cheek. And I'm sure he's probably disappointed. Like, yo, what's up with that? But in their conversation later, and even aside from the conversation, at the altar, after the pastor introduces them to each other, the pastor says, okay, so here, Mirla, here are some things that Gil's family wants you to know about him. So they kind of do that so that the couple is already learning things about each other before they even get married, which I think is a nice touch. I like the fact that they do that. But for her family. They were basically telling him like she loves to shop, she loves this, she loves that. They talked about other, non-superficial things, but you could see they panned to some of the people on his side. And when she mentioned that she likes to shop, and they mentioned it a couple times, the people on his side were like, already giving kind of funny faces because they know how he is. He cannot stand a woman who's materialistic. And again, just because you like to spend a bunch of money doesn't mean that you're materialistic, but they're definitely painting her like she is that way. So I don't know what's going to happen with them. I didn't get the strongest vibe from them. She finds him handsome. I think he finds her attractive. But in their conversations, also, he has a dog, and she's not really... She says she's indifferent when it comes to dogs. She just seems like she's kind of like, I don't really want to deal with that. But, you can fall in love with an animal. It does happen. And so maybe she'll get to know the animal and it'll be okay. So I don't think that's overly concerning just yet. But I don't know. I don't have the best of vibes when it comes to them. And actually, I was thinking about this. I understand every season they will hype up some of the issues that you see in the couples. And already, just in a couple episodes, I can see the potential issues that there may be between each couples. I think I may kind of dive a little deeper into that in this video. So for Mirla and Gil, the problem is going to be that she doesn't want to change her life. She just wants him to add to it as opposed to creating something new with him. Pastor Cal made a point of saying that Gil is not a pushover. So I think that he will stand up for himself and he will kind of put his foot down when need be. I don't know. I think the wild card is going to be how she's going to react to that. Is she going to respect him, and is she going to start thinking about, doing things differently, or is she going to combat that and end up despising him because he's not willing to go along with the program? So anything could happen with them, but they did get married, and then they talked a little bit afterwards, and I didn't really sense chemistry there necessarily, but I think it may take time for that to develop as they continue to get to know each other and continue to find things that they like about each other. They also went back to Bao and Johnny, who got married last week. Bao and Johnny are both Vietnamese. They both know each other, but never dated. And one thing I did like that because of their shared culture, they both were very adamant that we're going to have a tea ceremony. So they changed out of their wedding dress and their tux into red clothing. Red is good luck in that culture. And the tea ceremony is all about serving tea to your elders to get their blessing and to, just honor them basically. So I thought it was really sweet. And I love one thing that Johnny said. He's like, we're dancing and it's a little awkward because she isn't used to my touch, but I just really want to kiss her. Like, I want to know what it feels like to make out with my wife. I was like, aw, Johnny. And they're definitely attracted to each other, which always helps on this show specifically. And they talked about kids already. They both want 2 kids. I was like, I think that's awesome and great. So the second wedding was Michaela and Zach. For Bao and Johnny, what I think the red flags that there could be for them is that they both have very strong OCD-like personalities where they both like to control things. They're both really organized. And I think at some point that'll cause them to butt heads. In any relationship, whether you're dating, whether it's your friend, whether it's mother, daughter, whatever, those 2 people cannot be in charge all the time. And for 2 people, it looks like they have difficulty not being in control and not being in charge. That may cause some friction down the line. So I think that's going to be like the heated thing that happens with this particular couple. Other than that, I really like the way they look together. I like that they already know and have respect for each other. And so I think they're going to make it. I hope they're going to make it. But that's my 2 cents. And then Michaela and Zach, they are an aesthetically pleasing looking couple. They are so cute together. I was crying a lot in last night's episode. I was like, oh my gosh, this is someone like me. But Zach, being the youngest person on the show, 27 years old, he's the youngest person, but he's wanted to get married and wanted to have a family for most of his life. And that's not every man. Like I don't say most men don't want that, but I feel like most men don't dream about it like that. His family, his parents have like a successful marriage and been married for like 28 years, I think. And he's just been surrounded by love, even though he's never been in love himself. So the day of the wedding, his boys come in, I think his brothers, they come in and they're like, oh man, you're getting married today and this is great. And so he's in the limo on the way to the hotel where the wedding's going to be. And he just breaks down and he starts crying and he cannot stop himself. He was like, I just want to see my wife and that's it. I'm ready to be a husband. He was just so overwhelmed with emotion. And it was beautiful to see, that he's just moved by the idea of finally being a husband. B, it showed how long he's really wanted this. And C, it shows how comfortable he is with his emotions. And I was like, this is such a beautiful thing. I was crying along with him. I was like, this is amazing. That means he's going to work really hard on this marriage. Now, the downside to this is that Michaela has a very strong personality. Her sisters say that she's extremely stubborn. That's their main concern for her, is that she's stubborn and she doesn't really like to give, right? With Zach being as sensitive as he is and really wanting the marriage to work, and not only wanting it to work, his main concern is that she likes me, she feels comfortable, I'm the best husband I can possibly be. And putting all that pressure on himself, he is, in a sense, denying his own needs. He's already made it very clear that his needs and his focus is going to be making sure she's good. That is what my focus is. I want to make sure my wife is absolutely amazing, that she is great, she is happy, she feels safe, she feels loved. But because it's putting so much emphasis on that, my fear is that, not that she would take advantage purposely, but there's potential for her to take advantage of the fact that he'll pretty much do anything to make sure things are good. And then also, again, in doing that, he's going to deny his own needs, but he's not going to see them as important as her needs. And then also, because she is so stubborn, well, this is the good side. Because she's so stubborn, maybe having someone who is emotionally intelligent like Zach, seeing someone who's so in touch with her and wants to make her happy, maybe that'll make her stubbornness thaw a little bit, because it's going to force her to consider someone outside of herself. It's easy to be stubborn and a little bit selfish when you're the baby of the family. You haven't really had to answer to anybody. You don't really have to consider other people for the most part, because it's just you. But once you have this husband who is doting on you all the time, who wants you to be happy, I hope that something will click in her head and she'll start being a little more comfortable and just kind of putting him at ease a little bit more, and not being quick to anger, to put it biblically, and just, having a little give there when it comes to him, because she's going to want him to be happy and she wants him to be comfortable. But that does take some time. So I'm sure the stubbornness will come out at some point, and he may not know how to handle it, or he may just bypass it because he doesn't want to rock the boat, which I really hope doesn't happen. But my hope is still that they will be okay and they'll be good. So that was pretty much it that happened last night. They had their weddings. Oh, one thing I did think was cute. Michaela's energy is so just infectious. She is like, and as soon as she came out, she's like, oh my gosh, hi, you're gorgeous. And he's like, oh my gosh, you're gorgeous. And they're just like chit-chatting, and this is before they even say their vows. Like, they're on it. They're immediately comfortable with each other, immediately attracted to each other. And she's like, oh my gosh, your name is Zach. Is this short for Zachary? Do you want a Zachary Jr.? I was like, Michaela's my kind of girl. She says what's on her mind. And I just love how excited she is about the whole concept. And I love that, in the previous episode, they showed Zach at his bachelor party with the other grooms on the show. And he talked about how excited he's about getting married. He's wanted this his whole life. He's like, man, I've even been like, reciting my vows like every day. Like, I'm just so excited to say them to my wife. And he recited his vows from memory because he was telling the truth. He's like been saying them every day. He said it straight from memory about how he's going to work hard to make her happy and all this other stuff. I was like, this is really beautiful. And they just look really good together. I really hope they make it. They're a yes for me. Bao and Johnny are a yes for me. Mirla and Gil, I just don't see it happening. But you know what? Stranger things have happened on this show, so who knows? And then next week we'll have the wedding of Rachel and Jose. And what is the other couple's name? Rachel and Jose. And I can't remember the other couple. Brett and Ryan. One little sneak peek they showed, Brett is red, has beautiful red hair, and I think she's a very pretty girl. When she's coming down the aisle, it made it seem like Ryan wasn't immediately attracted to her just based off his facial expressions. But they like to edit things so that they're telling one story even though that's not like the real story. So I don't know if that's really the case, but it did look a little suspect. Like, I don't know how I feel about this girl. So we'll see if that was really true. But next week, Brett and Ryan and Rachel and Jose will get married, and I'll give my thoughts in next week's episode. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I kept it short because we only got to see 2 weddings. I don't know why they're doing this to us, but this is where we are. But again, hopefully you guys like the video. I hope you subscribe to my channel because I have other stuff on here besides Married at First Sight. I hope that you guys will comment, because I would love to hear your opinion on what you saw last night, or things that you heard that maybe I didn't touch on at all. And yeah, I will see you guys next week.